All right. Good morning, everyone. Welcome, and thanks for tuning in to this webinar. My name is John Tanner. I'm the editor-in-chief for Disruptive.Asia, and I am your moderator for this session. Our topic is how IoT can help your business during times of crisis and beyond. We've got a great panel of experts here to talk about that. But before we get to that, I need to let you know something very important, which is that this is an interactive webinar. We're going to have a Q&A session with our panel after they finish their talks. And they are so keen to hear your questions that for the 4 attendees who ask the best questions, they'll receive an Echo Dot 3rd generation smart Bluetooth wireless speaker with Alexa Charcoal as a thank you gift for participating. You can see it right there on the screen. It's beautiful, isn't it? You want one of those? Ask a question. Ask a really good question. All you have to do is just type that question or your comments into the chat box on the console on your screen. You don't have to wait for the Q&A session to start. You can do that anytime during the webinar. And then we'll do our best to get your questions answered during this session. If we can't do it online, we'll do it online afterwards. And don't worry if your question doesn't make it on the air. That won't disqualify you from a shot at the Echo Dot if your question is deemed awesome enough. Okay? All right, so with that out of the way, let's introduce our panel for today. We have with us Nicola Wittnauer. He's the APAC Director for Client Solutions and Success at Sigfox. And we also have Conrad Lee, the VP for Business Development at Wise Ally. And last but not least, Jane Lowe, Senior Director for Duracell Professional Asia. So welcome to all of you, and thank you for joining us for this panel session today. So why are we talking about how IoT can help your business during a crisis? Well, the crisis part is pretty obvious. Many countries are still suffering from the impact of COVID-19 to varying degrees. And throughout the year, companies have been responding to COVID in various ways. And of course, there's been a lot of talk about how their experience will prepare them not only for the next wave of COVID, but also for the next big disruptive crisis, whether it's a pandemic or whether it's something else. One interesting aspect of this has been the role of IoT, the Internet of Things. We've seen a lot of headlines about how IoT can help various businesses stay operational, whether it's automated production or improving supply chain and process efficiency. But the fact is that IoT can be implemented in lots of other ways as well. From disinfecting high traffic areas to predictive maintenance. So it's not just about keeping the workplace up and running, but also making it safer in the midst of a global pandemic. So Nicola, Conrad, and Jane will be talking about how you can use technology to overcome social isolation in a pandemic with the lockdowns, the challenges involved in this, particularly in the healthcare and in industrial sectors. We'll be looking at the kinds of IoT devices that can enhance productivity during a crisis, some real-world applications and best practices, and why battery choice matters. So let's get started. I'm going to hand over to Nicola Wittnauer of Sigfox, who's going to kick things off for us. So over to you.
Thank you very much, John. Hi, everyone. My name is Nicola Wittnauer. So I'm Sigfox Client Solutions and Success Director for APAC. So you may have heard about Sigfox and about our 0G network, which is the largest global wireless network dedicated to IoT for connecting simple, low-powered, low-cost IoT devices. So today, I would like to present how we see COVID-19 impacting IoT and how IoT can help the business during and after this crisis. So during the first month of the outbreak, the IoT industry has been strongly hit, actually. Our customers in all verticals had their operations stopped, and many customers started to delay or even to freeze temporarily their IoT projects. However, very soon, some efficient IoT initiatives have been launched to fight the pandemic, especially in healthcare. And you will see later some concrete examples of IoT devices and IoT applications in healthcare used to fight the crisis. On top of that, the companies who adopted already IoT, for example, to monitor remotely their assets, those companies could see tremendous value in their IoT solution because this allowed them to continue their operations normally, remotely, during the crisis and this age of remote. And as a result, what we can see now is that for most companies, the post-COVID IoT priority is to accelerate digitalization. And a key part of the digital transformation is to intensify IoT adoption within the company. Next, please. There is thus a growing demand for IoT now, but not for any IoT. The needs for IoT because of the crisis are now very specific, and we can see 4 big trends. The first one is the need of low-cost IoT. IoT which is bringing clear value quickly with fast return of investment. It means solutions with the lowest total cost, lowest device cost, connectivity cost, cloud and platform and application cost. Proven solutions which can be quickly and easily deployed anywhere, globally, and using devices with long battery life that can be used during the complete lifetime of the use case. The second big trend is that by connecting more and more sensors and objects, this is putting the focus on IoT security, with a clear request for security at any level, devices, network, and cloud. And now we see that there are 2 main use cases being targeted following this COVID-19 crisis. The first one is the ability to provide full visibility and control of the supply chain, end-to-end. This is one of the major challenges highlighted by the crisis. The goal is to be able to cope with supply chain volatility, to adapt quickly to supply and demand fluctuations and disruptions. By tracking and tracing assets anywhere, anytime, especially when they are out of your premises and out of your control. The second big use case that we can see now is the development of automated and remote operations. By monitoring remotely equipment, infrastructures, and by collecting more and more data from more and more different sources. This is what we call mass IoT. And with this amount of data, to improve predictions and to automate business decisions with the help of machine learning and AI. Low cost, low power, simple, secured and global network, mass IoT, enabling end-to-end visibility and remote monitoring. This is, in fact, actually what our Sigfox Zero-G network has been designed for. Next, please. And we can see thus an increasing demand for IoT and for Zero-G following COVID-19, especially in those 3 verticals. In healthcare, of course, which was obviously the first vertical where the demand was growing. In supply chain and logistics, with the need of end-to-end visibility and control of the supply chain, and in utilities and industry, with IoT solutions for remote monitoring and remotely controlled operations. Of course, we see a growing demand also in other verticals, like smart city or smart building, because of COVID-19. And I would like now just to show you some of the solutions from our ecosystem partners and from our customers using Sigfox, which have been deployed to answer some of the challenges raised by the crisis. Next, please. First, in healthcare. We deployed a global solution for tracking and securing the delivery of PPE equipment, masks, gloves, etc., from the production site in Asia to the distribution centers and medical facilities in Europe. The goal was to make sure that those PPE arrive on time and have not been rerouted or even stolen during the journey. Another very successful solution was this low-cost bedside alerting solution using a button device. It could be deployed very quickly in temporary hospital in Spain because this is a plug-and-play solution. No need of power supply, the device is battery powered. No need of infrastructure or gateway installation. This is using Sigfox public network. No configuration, no pairing needed. Ready to use and thus very efficient for those temporary hospitals. And I show here just other solutions like this one for contact tracing with a BLE plus Sigfox device, or this multi-sensor telecare solution from Senior Adam for elderly living alone. Next, please. Then here you can see some of our reference cases allowing end-to-end visibility and full control of the supply chain. which is, as I said before, one of the major challenges highlighted by COVID-19. For example, PSA, Peugeot Citroën Group, they adopted Sigfox to track their returnable industrial packaging, which are transiting between PSA factories and their suppliers. And thanks to this track and trace solution, PSA can now retrieve lost packaging, improve the rotation and usage rates, and they can find empty packaging immediately in case of a sudden change of the supply or the demand. Similarly, on the right, you can see a roller cage tracking solution for postal and logistics services, which has been adopted by DHL. With this, they can have a full visibility of the assets, even when the asset is out of DHL organization or out of the postal organization. And especially during the COVID-19 period, there were very sudden peaks of traffic, and it was necessary to find immediately some available roller cage. If DHL would not have this solution, they would have to purchase new roller cages in emergency to absorb the traffic. And to finish, on the bottom, you can see SafeCube Michelin solution for tracking maritime containers. This solution allowed companies to move from flight shipments, which were too expensive and even sometimes not available during COVID-19 crisis, to maritime transportation. Until now, those companies were really reluctant to use maritime transportation because they considered maritime transportation is completely uncontrollable. But by tracking the container with Sigfox end-to-end globally, you can detect immediately any abnormal route or any unexpected delay. For example, a container staying immobile in a given port. And with that, you can anticipate very precisely your time of arrival and mitigate any business impacts. Next, please. And to finish, here are some of Sigfox-enabled solutions which answer concretely the challenge of remote monitoring and of remotely controlled operations. First, smart metering. So this is a retrofit solution to connect with Sigfox 850,000 LP gas meters in Japan. With this, no need anymore for a technician to go at each household every month to read manually the meter with the risk of a human contact. This is now done automatically. The consumption data is reported every day automatically. And this allows, on top of that, to open and close the valve remotely. So it's an implementation of remote operation. And by knowing in real time the remaining level of gas in the cylinder, this allows the gas operator to significantly improve the LP gas cylinder delivery operations, with the number of deliveries and delivery costs having been reduced by more than 30%. Then on the right, this solution for remote monitoring of air conditioning outdoor units by Daikin. So no need anymore to go to the roof of the building every 3 months to check there is no leak of freon gas. This is now done remotely, automatically, using a connected sensor. And this allows, in addition, preventive maintenance. It means it's a new value created for Daikin and for their customers. Similarly, Nishimatsu Construction are using Sigfox to remotely monitor infrastructures like bridges or tunnels. This allows to detect immediately any change in the structure, even non-visible changes, and to plan maintenance operations more efficiently, rather than having to send regularly an expert on site, which is costly and more difficult with the crisis. Next, please. So those were some examples of what IoT, our zero-G network, can do to help concretely the business during and after the COVID-19 crisis. Because zero-G, which is low cost, low power, global, allows to release the value of data from everything. Even data whose value was too cheap until now to be extracted. A temperature, for example. Zero-G is enabling mass IoT to connect things that could not be connected before. Next, please. So as I said, zero-G is using the minimum in terms of cost, energy, bandwidth, And this is what allows to unlock mass IoT with billions of objects to be connected in the future, while the logic can also be used as a backup for other networks. Next, please. Here you can see some of our numbers. So our IoT service is available now worldwide in 72 countries, covering 1.3 billion people all over the world, with more than 16 million devices already using our network. And we hope so that we will be able to help your business as well, the same way as we are helping today global customers like DHL, Michelin, PSA, Daikin, and many others. Thank you very much for your attention, and I would like now to give the virtual mic to Conrad to present Wisely and their solution.
Thank you, Nicola. That was a very good overview of Sigfox as an operator, the role in the whole ecosystem. Just the first slide, I just want to initially have a quick introduction of Wise Ally. I'm the Vice President of Business Development for Wise Ally, and we are an end device provider, particularly on the hardware side of the whole ecosystem. We're able to provide you the off-the-shelf hardware solution or a customized IoT solution, essentially for the B2B enterprise market. We're able to provide a one-stop design and manufacturing service that includes sitting together with our clients from a concept to transform from the business challenges to come up with a solution, and then designing a hardware product, servicing that, meeting those demands and conditions and requirements, and then bring it to manufacturing, and then integrating the hardware side of the product with the mobile app development and the system integrators, and then the deployment side of the whole ecosystem. And we have great partnerships with our Sigfox partner and with operators operating all around the world, in particular in Asia. We have Finstra, who's pretty much primarily work from Hong Kong and Australia and New Zealand, and also Unibix for Singapore and Malaysia markets. So this should be able to help our audience right now, which is primarily coming from these countries. Okay, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Okay. I want to talk about, in particular, pick out the three applications that Nicola has talked about, especially very important during the pandemic period. The popularity or the business case is a lot more needed as of any other times that we have seen. We have received a lot of inquiries, and we are doing quite a few projects on this particular application, which is the asset tracking. Not only just in the geolocation space, but also in the supply chain space as well. In particular scenarios, environment that are very useful, can be used in hospital, where the clients would like to attach, let's say, an asset tracker onto some high-value items or important equipment in the hospital environment, such as ventilators, hospital beds, and so on. And these really can keep track on the already scarce resources that they have in the hospital, making sure that they know exactly where these important equipments are at any point of time and who's been using it, and so on and so forth. So during this pandemic period, the asset trackers are very especially important. On the supply chain side, we have seen the asset trackers also being equipped not only just with on the back end with the Sigfox connectivity, but on the sensing side, it also is equipped with temperature and humidity checking on the conditions of how the goods are being shipped over or carried over, and also with GPS location modules being located in these asset trackers. So again, it's pretty much making sure that during this pandemic period, logistics and transportation has been taking a real strain, and the clients would like exactly know where the locations of these important cargoes and where they are in any particular time. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, thank you. This I want to talk about the next application is pretty much, it's very important, not only during the pandemic, but also before the pandemic times, where there are many cities or states, such as even in the US, in Seattle, Chicago, where there's a mandatory law requiring hotels operators to operate or to deploy panic alert buttons or devices to their staff. This is pretty much to protect the well-being and the overall support to the employees, and also giving comfort and security to the guests in general staying at their premises. Next slide, please. So this rapid response device or button, pretty much it's again, it's geolocation based, and it's able to sense, has to be compact and lightweight, and very wearable, and able to have features such as the alarm alert, and also LED node to really help the management team of a hotel or hospitality premises to know where their staff, or if there's a need, they can sound off the emergency alert immediately. So again, not only just in the hospitality environment, but they are able to use in casinos, in property management, in airports, and so on and so forth. Next slide, please. This is another application I want to highlight during the pandemic times, which Nicola also mentioned, are these remote utility meter readers. Because of the pandemic situation, a lot of governments have gradually slowed down the deployment of smart meters. So our remote utility meter readers have come into place, where it's become an interim solution, able to read off the meters, regardless whether these are electric meters, gas meters, or water meters, able to read off the indications of the meters, and able to transmit either daily or monthly, depending on the conditions of the usage. And looking at the cost, of course, this become more popular during, as I mentioned, because of the tighter budgets for the deployment of the smart meters, and also the convenience of setting these or installing these remote meter readers. Typically, it's a ratio of 1:7, where it's really becoming more cost effective having these remote meter readers being installed on top of your conventional meters nowadays that we have seen. Okay, next slide, please. Okay. So all in all, just want to talk about the IoT system. If one such as yourself want to decide to sit down and apply or come up with a solution, IoT solution for particular challenge that you have on your business, then you bear in mind there are quite a number of players in this ecosystem that you might need to work with. Working with Wise Ally, even though we are a hardware IoT provider, but we're able to integrate or work together with our other partners, so that you can pretty much rely on just working with 1 or 2 vendors instead of like 6 or 7 operators or vendors in your portfolio. So because what you need to do is really to decide on the connectivity solution. We work with Sigfox, but you really need to look into the requirements of your business case. Next slide, please. And typically, if you decide on your overall objective and your budget of your trying to come up with a solution to your problem, you can come to us, and either we can provide you with an off-the-shelf hardware device solution, and the whole thing can be seamless. The whole journey can be seamless, where it would only take 3 to 4 months to deliver, but only need to have find the right off-the-shelf device solution. We can integrate it with a mobile app, and then working with people like Sigfox and your local SI partner, you pretty much deploy immediately within 3 months or so, or up to 4 months. But if it's your business requirements, it's has higher we need to customize your solution, then we really need to take a lot longer time to come up with from the concept to design the hardware product, from prototyping to coming up with the actual verifying on the hardware devices, mobile app integration, field trial, approval certification, and then doing the final delivery and deployment. Then we can may take up to 5 or 6 months time even, but this would be a customized solution and really tailor-made for your overall need. Okay, next slide, please. Just a final slide, a quick summary of our company. We're a Hong Kong listed company with over 10 years of IoT product design manufacturing experience. We've been making and building medical equipment and healthcare equipment for Fortune 500 companies. We've had building up very good relationships with module chip makers and system integrators, and we've also all our products can be certified with CFCC, and most important of all, we have dedicated IoT and also engineering resources and also project team designing and building those design solutions. With a final note, okay, I would like to pass the mic to Jane. One of the important factors of having a real solution, really addressing the overall IoT solution, is having the right power consumption to meet the needs of the duration of the product. Okay, Jane.
Thank you, Conrad. Good morning and good afternoon to the audience joining us today. My name is Jane Low. I am the Senior Director for Duracell Professional Team working for Asia Pacific. So glad to be on for speaking to you a little bit about how battery actually supports this IoT ecosystems. As you heard from Nicola and Conrad about the connectivity, the need for reliable connectivities, and how different devices play a role during this COVID-19 situation. Battery design, usually it comes at the very end of the thoughts. It's almost like an afterthought for a lot of us. But this is actually critical as part of it. So let me just share with you a little bit on why this is important and what is really needed. Next, please. Since the change of the century, when we start and internet becomes a little bit more popular, there is a clear trend, change in trend for different connectivities, wireless applications, which drive a very different requirement on the device and definitely on the power consumption. And as you see, this is not a specific industry requirement. This spans across from consumer wearables, which a lot of you probably have especially during these days where we have a lot of exercise, outdoor exercise with your what we call the wireless watch to get the connectivities, or going into even military defense. Conrad talked about the smart meters. So there's a lot of different applications in the out in the industry where which is requiring a wireless connectivities, and then driving a change in the power consumptions of those devices, where definitely require a change also in the battery requirements. Next, please. So just a little bit before I get into how the application, a lot of these IoT devices today are still powered by what I consider as the disposable or the primary batteries. And in this case, the four highlighted area, the alkaline, the lithium, the high power lithium, whether it is a cylinder or whether it is the lithium coin, represents about 3 billion of power batteries for the devices. So this is still a huge market, just even on the disposable area. Of course, there is a trend going into some USB charging or even rechargeable batteries, which is not being covered as of today. So we focus a little bit more on the mass markets and some of the applications during this COVID-19 case, as represented by those four categories. Next, please. So how are you going to select what type of battery that you should use as part of your design? I mean, as during different applications, the selection is actually critical. A lot of the devices are using alkaline. Part of it is because of the affordability of this battery type, and it has been in the market a lot longer than the lithium area. For us, we actually consider also different application. So we introduced two tiers of alkaline battery. One we call the Procell general purpose, and then the other one is called Procell intense, which I'm going to explain a little bit why. And in the lithium area, most commonly used is the high power lithium battery in terms of the cylinder, because instead of using two alkaline, for the piece of one, you can get the voltage you need, the density and the capacity you need, and more importantly, the operating temperature is a lot different than the alkaline batteries. However, when you get into some restrictions on size, like some of the tracker that some of the device that Conrad has shown to the audience, lithium coin will likely to be your choice, which goes into the different, you still have the 3 volt, you still have some capacity better than maybe some alkaline, but a lot more compact and less than the cylinder version. And also for us, we have a unique feature we call child safety, which I have to explain a little bit why this is also important for the device manufacturer. So next, please. So as I started the presentations by talking about the trends and the demand and the change of devices that need the consumptions. So in your selection, we really define the devices into what we call the high drain device and the low drain device. And the reason why this is needed is because of the response that you require from the battery. So for example, what we consider as high drain devices is where you are usually motorized. During this COVID-19 situation, we talk about a lot of remote applications. So touchless applications. So in this case, it requires the instant response. So as an example, if you go to a public washroom, you don't want to touch on your soap dispenser. You want your soap dispenser to dispense immediately. That's require what we consider as high drain consumptions. And this is where the Procell, or if the device is needed, the lithium, high power lithium will play. Whereas in the low drain device, what we consider as those is, again, using the public washrooms as an example. Now, a lot of the governments actually encourage the frequent washing hands as part of it. Even Hong Kong, as an example, we keep talking about washing your hands frequently, at least for 20 seconds. This is talking about capacity, duration, long term, as a matter of time. And this is what we usually consider as the low drain devices. So based on the applications, the need, then you will select, as I explained earlier, the right alkaline battery type, whether it's intense or the general purpose, or if you need a little bit more capacity, move yourself into the lithium area. Next, please. So why is this really important? Selecting the right battery choice will ensure the durations, the longevities, and the reliabilities that Nicola had talked about during his connectivity, his sessions. Because this is important for, especially during this COVID-19 time, where you are not able to get into the house. You need a little bit more different ways of doing business. And the selections is even more important. Plus, of course, this also represents a brand, your branding for being in the providing a consistency in performance and a good quality. Next, please. So let me share with the audience here, especially I understand that there might be some audience coming from Singapore. So a lot of you should be very familiar with this program with the Singapore government. When they first came out, and obviously there's a time where Singapore has been hard hit by the COVID-19 situations. So they are looking into a device to give to the citizens. And the idea is they will track anybody who has been deemed as a suspect, so to speak. So they really need everybody to carry this and to take a signal from each other. And the data will be collected for 25 days. So the two KPI in this design is quick signals. So we talk about the hydrant applications, the longevities, which is the 25 days, 24/7 requirement on the battery consumptions. And it's small enough so that the people will tend to carry it. So when we talk up to the government and design the product, this is where the selections of the products come in. So instead of going with just an alkaline batteries, we ended up with the solutions on using the lithium CR123 cylinder, one of the cylinder type of batteries. And this is launched in Singapore as we speak. They're talking about a second generation, which comes into a little bit smaller in size, which will then use the CR2032 lithium coin, or maybe the CR2477 lithium coin. Next, please. So just now I mentioned a little bit about an important feature called child safety, and why is this important? As the Singapore government designs its next generation and thinking of using a lithium coin battery, one of the key thing is this is going for the citizens. So every household could potentially expose for replacement of the or for kids when they have to get in touch with the device. It's a fact that accidents happen if a kid doesn't know exactly what it is. They're playing with the device and they ended up swallowing that batteries, and this will cause major accidents. And it is, and it has been on the news, and it happened everywhere around the world. So one of the considerations when design needed for a lithium battery, we offer extra steps to help to create what we called a child proof. So we have two-pronged systems. One, we add a layer of coating, what we consider as a bitterant, where it's so, as the term bitterant, is so bitter when the child happened to swallow accidentally, instead of swallowing all the way in, they will spit out instantly so that they will minimize the opportunities. And it is something that is like when they see it as a candy and the candy is sour or bitter. So this will help them to spit it out. And then another thing is obviously in the packaging design, we change it as well so that it becomes a very difficult way for people to unwrap and put it in their mouth. So this is important because one is the safety of our citizens. Secondly, it also creates important social responsibilities. And for that reason, your device is considered as a quality device with a good brand name, and obviously being a responsible partner for your community. Next, please. So just in case you wonder what's, Jane, you said you come from Duracell and why I might keep talking about Procell, just a little bit of an explanation. Duracell company used to be run by P&G. We has actually having long-standing histories in the battery markets. The business was sold to Warren Buffett in 2016. So we are now 100% owned by Berkshire Hathaway. And we running in the consumer area using Duracell brand. But since then, we also created a professional team to serve our B2B community. And this is where the ecosystems with our batteries actually is completing this IoT ecosystem through connectivities, device, and now about the power consumptions. So I hope this gives you a quick overview on what you need when you consider a design in your device, besides the connectivities requirement and making sure that you put in the right choice at the beginning, because that defines the performance and also the size of batteries that you need, and obviously that drives the performance of your devices as well. So with that, let me hand it back to John. Thank you for the time. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. That was Jane Lowe from Duracell Professional Asia. And of course, we also heard from Conrad Lee of Wise Alley and Nicola Wittenauer of Sigfox. So basically, just to quickly summarize what we've just been looking at. So basically what you have here is the three key elements of the IoT ecosystem and how they come together and they play a role in the COVID area. So you have Sigfox with their zero-G network for connecting simple, low-power, low-cost IoT devices and enabling mass IoT. You have a focused solution provider in healthcare, supply chain, industrial, smart building, utility. You have the customized or off-the-shelf hardware IoT solutions to meet whatever needs that you happen to have. And as we've just heard, you have a selection of batteries to choose from, and it does matter which one you choose because there are different requirements for different devices in different scenarios. So now for the moment you've been waiting for, you want your questions answered, and we're going to do that now. This is the Q&A part of the webinar. So we know some of you have already been sending in your questions during the presentations. You can still send in questions, just type it into the chat box there on your console. And remember, if you submit one of the 4 best questions, you're going to get an Echo Dot smart Bluetooth speaker for your trouble. So let's move on to the Q&A session now. So we've already got some questions that have come in. So hope the 3 of you are ready for this. I'm not really sure who this one would go to, so we'll see who wants to tackle it. There's no doubt that we're seeing increased costs attached to these devices that we've been talking about, but there's also no doubt that cost savings come along with all these applications. So how much work has been done in terms of looking at the cost-benefit savings in general? So in other words, maybe the devices cost more, but you're saving money with the application. So how exactly does it balance out, and then how much work has been done to show that in the end run, you're either saving money or you're not spending as much money as it looks like?
Okay, so Nicola from Sigfox, maybe I can just give some elements. So yeah, as you said, what counts is the total cost, what we call the TCO, total cost of ownership. It's not only having a low-cost device. If you have a very, very expensive application or service delivery, this made no sense. So the goal is really to reduce the cost from end to end at device side. And for this, we are working, for example, in Sigfox with our ecosystem partner to have like Sigfox modules under $1 today. Means that you can now develop some IoT devices which are not more than 10 or even less $1. For connectivity, Sigfox is really the cheapest. The price depends on volume, but if you have a lot of devices, this could be under $1 per device per year. And at cloud side, application basically is free. It's free of charge. And now it's about your system to deliver and develop an application which is free of charge, and that can be delivered in an OPEX model to be only few $US per month and per device. So it means that you can really have now very, very cheap end-to-end solution with IoT. But what is very important is to calculate your ROI. Means you need to make sure that that your cost will be lower than the revenue or the cost saving that you will get from your IoT application.
Okay, anyone want to add to that? Conrad?
Yes, I want to add a bit on top of that. I mean, it's other than looking at the direct cost itself and doing comparison, also these IoT devices able to read off a lot more, doing a lot more data analytics, and your customer or yourself, it's able to maybe even open up a different kind of service from the data itself to your end customer. So I mean, doing direct comparison on the cost itself, it's straightforward, but there are so many more benefits outside these, these straightforward cost calculation that you should really consider.
Well, John, let me just also complement the discussions that Nicola and Conrad did on the total cost systems. During my presentations, I explained the need to look for the right battery. So this is exactly why, and talking about the cost, because your cost is not only about in the component itself, but on the total system. So, for example, in the battery side, you have the replacement cost, you have the labor cost. Now, especially during this COVID-19 situations where even you cannot go, right? So there's a lot of or even if you are allowed to go and visit and do some repairing, the cost is going to be higher because there is the higher risk even in the insurance area. So from the fact of this, it's not only on the individual component. So what we try to encourage is really look for the total systems. And when you look at the total systems plus the big difference in the performance of your device, you probably will get a different ROI.
Okay, great. All right, another question from the audience, and this one is specifically for Conrad. We have someone who wants to get some more detail or understand the differences between a remote meter versus a smart meter.
Oh yes, indeed. Of course, remote meter is just an interim solution. It's able to just simply adopting or placing the remote meter on top of a conventional meter. So it's just like it's a half-hearted solution. But smart meter, of course, it's all with all the whistles and bells and whistles, able to do a lot more data analytics and do a lot more frequency on the data reading. But it's really depending on the convenience or how the operation should be run of your business. So we can actually give more specification and also understanding of your particular scenario. And maybe you can also contact me by email or by phone. Then we can go into specifics for this particular application. But all in all, we see this trend is picking up, even though smart meterings are being deployed all around the world. But it's a lot of governments are quite have slowed down, or the utility companies have slowed down somewhat because of COVID situation.
Okay, and another question from the audience, and this one is for Jane. There seems to be an even higher demand for batteries in the COVID environment. Do you see this trend continuing at the same levels? So in other words, is we going to keep seeing even more demand for it? Do you think it'll possibly even accelerate after COVID settles down, or might it drop back down to the trends you were seeing before?
This is actually a very good question. Our forecast is actually continue, and it will continue to grow. As because this pandemic situation is so global oriented, right? Everybody is hard hit, whether it's locally or whether it's your friends, your families, and your businesses. People are just getting a little bit more and more sensitive to the environment and to the health hygiene. So we have continued to see this even, for example, there are buildings where they put out those hand dispenser or temperature monitor before you go into the building. I don't see them just taking it back just because now the COVID-19 is over. So those devices in place will continue to be used, and it will continue to be used whether there is a pandemic or not. So I would say that in my forecast, I would think that this is continue to grow, and as the awareness continues.
Okay. All right, now here's a question for Nicola. Can Sigfox be combined with other connectivity solutions like cellular-based technologies in the same IoT device?
Okay, yes, thank you for the question. Actually, the answer is yes. Yes, Sigfox is not the only technology for IoT. So we are addressing a very specific market for those tiny, cheap, low-powered and devices. And yes, there are already a lot of devices combining Sigfox with other technology. For example, short-range technology like BLE, Bluetooth, or Wi-Fi. And there are even a use of Sigfox as a backup network. Means that the main network may be cellular technology, 2G, 3G, LTE, and Sigfox is used only as a backup. For example, because we are very, very resistant to jamming. So if there is a jamming, if the cellular network is jammed, Sigfox signal continue to be sent. So for example, home alarm, which are 2G home alarms, they have Sigfox as a backup. And if there is a thief in the house with jamming the cellular signal, the alert can be sent via Sigfox. So yes, definitively, you can combine Sigfox with other network, and this is how we see IoT growing in the future, by combining technologies depending on the use case and depending on your budget.
Okay. All right, so here we have another question from the audience. COVID is driving many changes at pace, requiring new or improved skill sets to cope with the increased data sets. So how do you see this impacting the current workforce numbers? And also, what new skill sets do you see as a result of these changes? I think this is pretty much open to anyone who wants to take it. And Jane, you look like you want to go first. Okay,
yeah, let me start because you know what, this is actually a very interesting question, because even for ourselves, during those last 6 months, we have been on and off coming back to the office, working from home, and everybody is talking a lot about new norm of doing business. I guess even having this panel discussion this morning is one of the example where the new norm is right, instead of having a face-to-face meeting. So I think the whole concept of IoT, having the connectivities and the skill sets demand us to work something differently, just to accept what is coming in as the new technologies. And from a person's perspective, is really, you know what, embrace this talking to the screen instead of talking to a real person, right? And I think this is kind of just a new norm of doing business. And I guess the skill sets per se is really just to be flexible and adaptabilities to the new change.
Yeah. What we can see, I think it's also, thank you, Jane, I think I completely agree with you. And we can see also COVID as a chance for some company to get more digital and to change their skill sets to hire new employees. We spoke before about utilities and smart metering. This is typically a kind of very old school vertical, I would say. But thanks to COVID, maybe I should not say that, but with this current transformation, by getting more and more connected, their current employees can go from, you know, a pure manual operation going every day to a site to have more back office task to go to more for data analytics, and they can hire new people. They can hire young people, because utilities becomes IT. It is completely new, and this is, I think, how all this business will evolve now. So more and more company will embrace IT, will embrace digitalization, and we will have more and more a mix of skill set in any company. And I think it's a chance altogether for all of us, and for our children as well, actually.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Nicola. Even without the COVID, I mean, the IoT trend has been growing dramatically. Of course, you know, we have this unfortunate, you know, pandemic situation. There are several, as we mentioned just earlier on, about the medical, utility, and the supply chain segments have really jumped up even more than before. And the business sectors, we talk about the hospitals, the casinos, the hospitality, the government, the property management companies. I mean, they now see the benefit of having these IoT solution being integrated into the overall business. And as Nicola and also Jane pointed out, I mean, the flexibility, quick adoption, the sooner the business is able to realize the benefit of IoT. There are a lot of experts out there in the market able to out there and really help you guys to quickly adopt, understand, and deploy the solutions very quickly.
Okay, great. All right, we're coming a bit up on time, but we have time for 1 or 2 more questions. So I'll get this question out to you, and we'll see how long it takes us to go through it. It's a bit involved. This question is about security. The early days of IoT were sort of plagued with security problems, mainly in regards to consumer IoT. And enterprise-grade IoT is generally more secure. But how do you demonstrate to both your customers and your partners that your security is robust?
That's a good but very complicated question to answer, I think. Same as for the cloud, security is about end-to-end. So if you have security at device side, but your cloud is not secured, there's no meaning. Same if your network is secured, but your device is just easy to attack, it's not easy. So yeah, so what we are doing now for security is really to show how the end-to-end security is provided, using encryption, using devices like the Sigfox one, which cannot be remotely controlled or remotely changed. But it's really to go to the overall chain from the device to the customer application to see all the layers of security. And of course, I think all IoT ecosystem players, we are working with security company. We are performing audits. In our case, in Sigfox, the audits is both for the network side and for the cloud side. Our cloud are audited several times per year. And so we are open to answer all the security questions that are coming from our customers. You know, we are working with global company like DHL, like Michelin. Those guys, the first thing they are asking is, where is the security? And they have a lot of questions. They are doing auditing. And if we cannot comply with this, we are just out of the business. Yes, security is more and more important, especially for B2B. And we cannot let IoT be a whole in terms of security. And I think all the ecosystem partners, device maker, software developers, cloud platform providers, everybody is working very, very hard to improve and strengthen the security for IoT. This is a very, very important challenge for the future, definitively.
Okay, Conrad, anything to add from the device side?
Yeah, it's a tough one for the device itself, on the hardware device itself, because when we do the concept design, when we do the industrial design, the hardware design itself, there's only certain amount of things we can do on the design on the hardware side to make it more and more secure. But I mean, as Nicolas pointed out, it's pretty much more to do with the cloud, the server side, the overall app side, to make the data more secure. So on the hardware side, unfortunately, we can do so much physically on the physical product itself, but you know, pretty much most of the security work must be really boiled down in on the software platform side.
Okay, and let's see. We'll have one last question. We're going to give this one to Jane. How does the device manufacturer know the battery that is selected for the device is the best for that device?
And thank you for the questions, and that's a great one too. I guess during what I share is you really need to understand and look for your design criteria. So we talk about whether you need a compact size, whether or not you need what kind of a response it is. Is it a motorized response, which means the high drained, or whether this is something that you really need for a durations of time, like the applications, what it is. So you really start from the applications. It's not the backward. It's not like you design something and then you consider consider what the battery is. You have to put battery applications at the beginning to drive the optimal performance of your device. And then you also, of course, then we talk a little bit about whether this is the cost, right? The differences in cost between the 2 alkalines or 1 lithium batteries. So I think with that, that will give you an opportunity to design it the proper way. Plus, obviously, for us as a battery manufacturers, we have facilities that can help our device partners to test their device to ensure that what you selected is actually the best performance. And sometimes we can help you in your design phase with the recommendations, not only on the primary side, but also on the rechargeable side, which I haven't covered in today. So both from your design philosophy plus our capabilities, I think we can together we can make a good decisions on the device performance.
Yeah, can I just quickly chip in about the battery consumption side? I mean, when we sit down with the customer, we look at the overall requirements. We look at how many number of triggers that the application or device need per hour, per day, per week, per month, and also we look at the amount of what sort of data upload, or even sometimes OTA or even download onto the device. These are all battery draining needed features that may be required on your product itself. So that would help also to sit down together with, let's say, Procell to work out, what sort of battery size are needed, because of the application. Some are even wearable and requiring small form factors. And our overall hardware design and even the algorithmic design itself, if it takes up a lot more calculation, then we can't sit in the device itself. The calculations algorithm has to be in the cloud server doing all the job. So which is take out the battery consumption side of the device more. So we will look into the overall properties and conditions of your requirement, the triggerings, the number of data uploads, the reports, the notifications per day, per hour, and so on and so forth, into the necessary design.
Okay, great. All right, well, we are coming up on the top of the hour, and that means that we're pretty much out of time. So thank you very much to our speakers. Jane Lowe from Duracell Professional Asia, Conrad Lee from Wise Ally, and Nicola Wittnauer from Sigfox. And if we didn't get to your question, we'll do our best to get an answer to you offline. And if your question is one of the 4 best ones, as judged by our speakers, I presume, it's not up to me, but not only will you be hearing from them, you'll also be getting an Echo Dot wireless speaker. So thanks everyone for attending our webinar this morning, and thanks again to our speakers. Have a good day and stay safe. The webinar is now closed.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye. Thank you.